In our society that they have the wisdom, they have a lot to offer.
Language again of the elders and the elderly, and it's back at my childhood or my...
One of the books I helped to write, Core.
Yeah, baby. Eating some curry. About to get in the hot tub. This is a hot tub. And I'm in Byron Bay. Life does not get any better than this. I am so happy right now. Okay, so I went to film a little Q&A in the pool. I'm currently on my moon cycle, and really all I wanted to do was sit in the hot tub and talk to you guys and answer some questions. And I've been working today, which is so hard to do on day one of your cycle. You're just like, bleh, you just don't want to. So instead, I got in the hot tub. The lighting was shit, so I didn't do anything about it. I'm in this mood, this grumpy, tell it like it is kind of mood, and I don't want to wear pants. So I'm just wearing my period undies. And that's all I'm going to wear. I might even go for a walk wearing just my period undies. It goes from like too cold to too hot in here way too quickly. These shoes are disgusting. They need to be washed. But welcome back to a Q&A with SJ. I asked questions on Instagram weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and I went back and screenshotted them so that I didn't completely lose them and lose track of them. And now I'm gonna go through and answer a bunch of them for you, just to give you an update on like my life, where things are at, other than the fact that I'm currently bleeding out my vagina. I'm just a little bit more triggered and sensitive today, let's say that. I shared yesterday on my stories something about, like, I'm so glad that PMS is a thing and that I'm allowed to use it as an excuse just to like be angry. And someone responded, I'm sure with well intentions, but just what they said made me angry. And I think that was kind of the intention. So like, listen to what they said. They were like, you've gone backwards, Sjana. Like, who are you? You've gone backwards. Who have you become? Or something like that. Of course you're allowed to be angry all the time. Like, you don't need PMS as an excuse. And the reason why it was so triggering is because I know that they're right, but I do not live like that. I decided to write down the other day, I'm about to be 28. I'm going into my Saturn return. And I decided to write down, I was just randomly inspired, 28 truths for my 28th birthday. And one of them is, yeah, like the things that I don't say. It was actually number one. I pretend to be all kind and loving, and I'm not pretending as such, but secretly, I still have all the shitty judgmental thoughts about myself and others, and I just choose not to say them. Usually, I take it one step further and say something exceptionally kind instead, because I was taught from an early age that people won't like me if they knew what I really thought. People won't like me if I'm not nice to them. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. I would always treat people kindly. And I mean, obviously, when you go like through your teens and through puberty and stuff, there's times where being kind is not at your forefront, and I'm sure there are many handfuls of things that I've done that I wouldn't be proud of if someone pointed them out to me now. But generally speaking, I suppress so much, and it took me until writing that down to even realize it. That's why I started with that number one, because I was having the thought of like, there are so many times when I have allowed myself to be stepped on. I haven't been stepped on, I've allowed myself. I've invited that. I've asked people, I'm like, here I am, I'm a doormat, use me, go for it, wipe your shoes off. Yes, absolutely. If it makes your shoes cleaner, please dirty me up. And that's horrible. But that's what I have been. And it's strange to have that realization with the value at the same time that kindness is an important value to me. And so trying to navigate, or yeah, just trying to relearn how I can not be used or abused and walked over in those ways, whilst also standing my ground, like saying, hey, here's a boundary. No, I'm not going to do that. Saying no to people. I'm not good at saying no to people. I say yes to everything, and it gets me in so much trouble because I'm either in something that I don't want to be in, or I am half-assing it. And it means that I'm doing myself a disservice and whoever I'm working with or for or relating to at the time, because I'm not able to show up in my fullest and highest potential at the same time. And I'm starting to witness just how impactful and negatively impactful, hurtful, harmful that is to me, to my conscious, to my mental state, and to my overall well-being ultimately. Anyway, that wasn't even a question. We haven't started yet. We're 6 minutes in. Get with it, chica. Okay, question number 1. How did you start a yoga business with retreats? I do not consider myself to be an entrepreneur. I am very, very wildly, radically lost and confused by the world of business and numbers. And I think that's another part of the reason why I allow myself to get walked over, is that naivety. It's like it only gets you so far. I think I've used that as like a protection mechanism, especially in business or like any kind of partnership that is in regards to like career or finances, like business, money, anything like that. So I actually haven't started a yoga business with retreats. I haven't at all. I have done third-party retreats, like a third party will organize it and then hire me to come in and teach it, and they'll pay me either a set amount of money or like a X amount per sign up, or like a royalty per sign up, like a commission. Or Bear and I have been doing our own. They're done through Bear's company. He's really good at all the organization of everything. Bear's amazing in that capacity. He's in every capacity, but so he's kind of dealt with the whole business side of it. And again, I just show up and teach. And to me, that's wonderful and beautiful. That is where I feel most in my dharma, in my purpose, and in alignment. But at the same time, I really love the organizational part of things. So I'm hoping that for 2023, I have enough courage to try to do one on my own. I think that would be really powerful and important for me, not just as an individual, but as an aspiring businesswoman. I really want to be able to learn more about business and money, and to be able to be fully responsible for the way that I show up in those spaces, and to be of value, and to bring like amazing and curate amazing retreats for people would be something that I would love to do. So that is on my 2023 bucket list, to-do list, manifestation goals, whatever you want to call it. And I'm thinking in Australia, just for the first one. It's more familiar to me. I understand it more. Yes, it's the overheads are more expensive, which means that I will make less out of it as I would like doing it in a third world country. But yeah, I really like it in Australia, and being back here now, even though it is still a little bit colder than it normally would be, I feel really good. And I think I've made the decision. I changed my mind a lot, but at the moment I'm firm in my decision that I want to be more grounded next year, and I'm going to take a step away from as much travel. I'll still take opportunities to travel if or when they feel right, or they come up and they're like, I'd be silly not to take it. Majority of the travel that I do though isn't paid, and I end up paying for it out of pocket, which, you know, like you think would be cheaper because you're like, oh, well, you're not paying rent, so of course you can afford flights. It's like, no, it's a lot more a lot of the time. So I'm really excited to be more grounded. Bear will probably still travel a little bit. He's undecided yet. But he is enjoying like the fluidity and the freedom. It's a big value of his. And I have I'm totally fine with that. I don't feel like I need to be around my partner 24/7, even though we have been like traveling together. You're with them all the time. But yeah, I just have so much trust and love in him and what we have, and share that it's so special that I really have no hesitation in him doing that and me not. Like, that feels really good to me. So what's my current dream for the future? To be a mum. That's been my only dream for a while. I want to be a fur mum at first. I want to learn more about business. I want to start a couple, if I can, of successful businesses, but I'm not even sure where to start, like what areas those should be in, whether they should be products, whether they should be services, whether that's even how I'm best of service in this world, whether I'm most in alignment with my purpose if I'm doing those things, or am I like forcing something? Is that why it feels so hard for me? These are the questions that are like constantly ruminating through my mind, and I find it really hard to navigate the rest of my life because of those vicious thoughts that are like so prevalent and loud, like they're obnoxious, always in the front of my head. Lessons that you've learned from love. Wow, that's a beautiful question. Everything. I've learned so much from all of my past partners, and so far I've only been in this relationship this year, and I learned something new about myself, about the way that I relate to others, about the way that we relate to each other, and about him, and about the world every single day. We both have a fascination and an admiration or adoration of human psychology and behavior and just the way that our minds and bodies work. We both love anything to do with the body and movement and the breath, yoga or breath work, wellness in general. So I'm learning constantly more about that in like that space of expanding like my self-love journey. I'm learning so much. Relationships are just mirrors, like complete and utter mirrors, and everything that you're either triggered by or frustrated by or annoyed by in someone else. It's so interesting that when it happens, both of us just kind of like step back and laugh in the moment. We're like, oh my God, like I am witnessing at the moment that like I'm feeling this, and then I had the realization that it's because of this, or like it's something, it's got nothing to do with the other person at all. Like they're the canvas that you've chosen to project onto. And I just think that's so cool. So Bear and I have a beautiful communicative relationship, like the most open, wonderful, crystal clear communication I have ever had with anyone. I feel so safe and supported and seen, and there is absolutely nothing that's gonna make me cry that makes me want to question my safety and my role in our relationship. I love it. I feel so protected and nurtured, but also so like free to be playful and silly and to lean in to my shadows and the dirty shit that I would not normally enjoy at all. And that's the stuff that, yeah, he doesn't want to change for me, which I think is a really powerful thing. And maybe one of the most powerful and potent lessons that I have learned is about radical acceptance and what it truly means to be loved to that full capacity. Of knowing that I can show up on my worst days and that he will still love me to death. Like that is, wow, thank you for that question. I hadn't actually I hadn't experienced this emotion yet, or this expression of it. Yeah, everything, absolutely everything. I love love. I love relationships. They're just the way that we relate to people. And it blows my mind that like we look at one human or a couple of humans, whether they be like, you know, your soulmate, but like not romantically either, or a soulmate can be like a best friend or a family member, even a dog, a cat, anything, a horse. It doesn't have to be even human. And it can be make believe as well, a soulmate. But we find other souls that we're just like, you, I want to do pretty much everything with you. Like that's just so cool that we're wired that way. And then we get to share those experiences with others. And then to reflect back on them and be like, remember that time? And they're like, I forgot about that one. Okay. I know you're in a really happy relationship right now, but do you have any tips on healing heartbreak? So that is a really loaded question. it's a really important question, but it's loaded, and I feel like I could talk on it for hours. There are so many like self-love, self-care, mindfulness rituals or habits that I could, like pop off to you. But when it comes down to it, it's not time that heals, it's the remembrance that you are already whole. And I know that that's really hard to feel, and especially hard to embody when you're in such a place that feels so broken and lost and scattered, and as if everything that you knew and were building towards or working towards has just been pulled out from underneath you. And I know that it's so hard to even like function and breathe and get through a regular day, showered and eating and drinking enough and like taking proper care of yourself, to even worry about like mental state being a whole other situation. But spending time alone is really powerful, and it was something that really helped me. So I would suggest that first and foremost, and without trying to like suppress it. Like, you're allowed to be heard. Those feelings are valid. Validating every single emotion that you have and exploring it with curiosity. Sitting with it, being like, wow, I'm feeling angry right now and it feels hot. Where am I feeling it in my body? It's like intense around my chest area. I feel a little bit constricted through the throat, but I feel energized through my arms. I want to move and punch something. I can feel the energy moving, wanting to like come out of me and wanting to express, and giving yourself permission to do that. Or to be like, wow, I'm feeling a dark, deep sense of loneliness or sadness. And when I give myself allowance to sit in that, it almost feels cool and liquid, sparkly, almost as if you're like floating in the ocean under an indigo sky. Or like allowing your emotions to be fully seen and heard and felt and expressed. I think that's really powerful. So I'll leave it short and simple. How do you know a friendship is over? Wow, another good question. I think something that really helped me when, like, in regards to friendships or any relationships really, the times when you like take inventory, I suppose, like mentally, and this can be done just in like through thought. You can just be sitting, not using a device, and like undistracted, so not distracted, you're doing something else, and not even like on a walk, but just sitting and like watching the trees or something like that, and allowing your mind to kind of take off and wander in whatever direction it does. And it was one of those times that I was doing that. I think I was sitting on a train and I was like, oh, I'll just look out the window. And my mind went to the relationships that I currently have in my life and who I spend most of my time around. And then in particular, how I feel after I've been in the presence of that person. So I went through one by one and allowed myself to remember like the handful of past interactions that I've had with that person, how I felt when I was around them, how I felt after being around them, and whether I felt supported, drained, connected, not only to them, but also to myself and to others, to source, and whether I felt as if they were giving and taking in the relationship the same, but without attaching too much to the outcome of that. So what I mean is, not every relationship is going to be 50% give, 50% take. Every relationship will be at times more give than take, and at other times more take than give, depending on where you are with your emotional state, where they are in their emotional state. And another really important factor of just speaking on that is, like, anytime you want to vent to someone and you might have a regular person that you go to, I find that I'm that person for a lot of my friends, and I love it. But there are times when it becomes really overwhelming really quickly, especially if I'm trying to like digest something myself. And so I found it really powerful to like initiate through practice, like teaching other people, those people around me, how they can best communicate with me to make sure that I'm in a space and that I have, so like asking the question to me beforehand. And I've taught them this through asking them at the times when I need them, like, hey, do you have the time right now, like the actual physical time, as well as the emotional and energetic space to be able to be here with me now, to be able to be present for X amount of time? Like, it may take, you know, an hour and a half, it may even take 3 hours, who knows, to fully explore something to completion. And then at the end of that conversation, whether you're sharing, this is something that Bear and I do and I absolutely love. We call them check-ins, and we'll do them probably once a week. And on top of that, again, if either of us feel the need to bring it up, we'll just, like, being out in public or something like that, if something that kind of like rubs us the wrong way, we'll be like, hey, like, can we do a check-in later? Or sometimes we'll just be like, hey, we haven't checked in a while, do you want to do a check-in? And there's nothing in particular that wants to come up, but we put our hands on our heart, we close our eyes, we take a couple of deep breaths together, and then one at a time we'll be like, do you want to go first? And then we're like, yeah, I'll go first. Or like, actually, would you mind going first? And then I'll be like, yeah, sure. And just sharing from the heart. And so it's unfiltered. You say everything that you're experiencing in that moment. So you can start with the physical sensations, like, I'm feeling heat, I'm in a warm room, or I'm feeling nourished, deeply nourished, I just ate a yummy meal, or I'm feeling in love and supported, or I'm feeling really lost and overwhelmed, to be honest. Like, I feel agitated and angry or mad, I feel PMSy, I feel like I'm sitting in my own period blood, because I am, like, anything. And then you can kind of just explore from there and be like, oh, I noticed last week I was triggered when this happened and I wanted to react in this way, but I'm proud of myself for internalizing it a step further, and then to be able to witness it from a whole new perspective and to reapproach it from a different angle to come to a solution-based, like, approach. Yeah, so there's like that. And I don't know why we're speaking of that. Oh, friendship over. Okay, I just wanted to share that part as well. That wasn't part of the question, sorry. How is it to work with your boyfriend? Really good to work with my current boyfriend, and I think I've tried to, like, make work happen with past partners, and there's just, like, there's no point in forcing something that isn't meant to be just because you want it to be that way. It works really fluidly the way that we do it, but yeah, like I said, I'm feeling really lost in terms of my career, especially at the moment, and therefore, like, purpose and my intention for being here, and the ways that I can show up and be of service to others. There's this thing called an ikigai, and it's like a 4-part Venn diagram, and it's the part in the middle is the ikigai, and it's what you're good at, what the world needs more of, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at, what the world needs more of, what you can be paid for, and something else. What you enjoy? Maybe something like that. I can't remember the last one. I normally can. Anyway, I haven't found my ikigai as such yet. So everything that I do just feels scrambled and scattered, and that's another reason why I really want to ground down next year, is to just get really clear with my intention for the year, and I find that really hard to do when I'm traveling. Another reason why I want to stop traveling next year as much is I have celiac disease. I've been allergic to wheat and gluten since birth, so I was getting it through my mum's breast milk and was borderline to thrive. So the first 9 months of my life, I actually lost weight, and I started walking when I was 4 months old. I don't think I ever crawled. I just had, like, these tiny little stick legs, like tiny little tweezer legs. And I would just, like, walk around. I was just so agitated and uncomfortable and unhappy within my own body as an infant. And I don't know if you guys know what Wheat Bix are. They're an Australian breakfast cereal. They're like logs of grain, and they're, like, really dense. And so a lot of people, like adults, will have like 2. Women might have 2. Guys will probably have like 3, maybe 4 if they're, like, working a lot or working out or whatever. And they just put, like, milk and honey or whatever on top. I used to eat 14 of those as a 4-month-old and scream for more because my body doesn't digest or recognize wheat properly. So it actually makes me malnourished because it doesn't allow the absorption of nutrients the way that my, like, bodies are intended to. And traveling with celiac disease is really hard. I haven't noticed it so much in the past, But this last time, I think just being in Asia for so long, so much of what says is gluten-free isn't actually gluten-free because they put soy sauce in things, and soy sauce has gluten in it, and not a lot of people know that. And so yeah, I've just constantly been battling with eczema and like a lowered immune system throughout travels, and that's not fun. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to like prioritize my health, especially around my diet and what I choose to put in my body, rather than being in places where like adding on to that, eating vegan is just like, majority of things are either gluten-free or vegan and not both. And so it's really hard to find the compromise whilst traveling. How can you really dive deep into your yoga practice? I think that comes with study of the self paired with study of the practice, and discipline, a really deep love or appreciation of self-discipline and how deep that can go. And so that means like an unwavering, there's a really good, wait for it, I underlined it in a book and I loved it. I thought it was truly profound. However, keep in mind, this is like for actual yogis. So like, I practice yoga, I'm not a yogi. A yogi is like a ancient, traditional, someone who practices it very traditionally, methodically, like set out, is taught from a yoga guru or master, and it's passed down, like the lineage is passed down. And so I can't call myself a yogi in that capacity. I don't practice like that. I just love the way that it makes my body feel. And I was saying to Bear this morning, I was like, shit, I haven't practiced yoga, like proper yoga, stretched here and there, in like at least a week. And I feel yucky in my body. And so I should probably just go get on my mat right now. I'll finish this and then I'll get on my mat. Let's do that. But I want to get this book for you because it has a really good example. Hold on. Okay, so this is the book, The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And this is a book that I was required to purchase, I believe, or like it was suggested for my initial 200-hour yoga training, which I'm literally up the road from where I did my 200-hour training. It's so cool. I'm in Byron. Anyway, so this book I've been traveling with, it's tiny. It's like teeny tiny, like compared to the size of a regular book, it's, little. And the page that I want to share with you is page 5, the bottom. Practice becomes firmly grounded when well attended for a long time, without break, and in all earnestness. So Patanjali says for a long time, but he doesn't say how long. And then it should be without break. And I often hear, oh, I've been practicing yoga for the past 10 years, but I'm still the same. And if you ask how often, they say, oh, on and off. And so it must be continuous practice also. And the last qualification is in all earnestness. This means with full attention, with the entire application of your mind, and with full faith in your achievement. And I thought that was really beautiful. I thought that would like help answer the question maybe. So it's just, yeah, how much of a dedication do you want to give to it? It's so much more than just showing up on your mat though. So I'm not even sure whether you meant just in asana practice, like just in the postures on the mat, or whether you mean like out in the rest of the world, how yoga seeps into everything that you do, or can seep into everything that you do. If you're actually practicing yoga, it will begin to do that. You'll start to see the way that it just shifts your entire mindset and state of being and energy the rest of the time. It's like what you learn on the mat and then you take with you out into the rest of the world. To me, that's what the yoga practice really is. And that's a connection that I'm deeply missing and really wanting to get back into nurturing as a priority. So I'm right there with you. Let's do it together. How do you earn money? I wish I knew the answer to this one, buddy. A lot of people automatically assume that over 1 million followers translates into over $1 million, and unfortunately it does not. I've been on struggle street for a while. Just because someone looks like they're adorned in jewelry and shit like that doesn't mean that they're doing well. Jewelry doesn't pay the rent. Neither does beautiful stays in amazing places like the one that I'm in. These are amazing opportunities that I'm super grateful for and so appreciate that, and I so appreciate that I'm allowed to do them, or that I have the ability to do contra stays and accept product gifting and things like that. But I have not made much money recently over the last couple of years, like since COVID at all. And I am also struggling in that department. And I would be lying if I said otherwise. I have hope though, and I have such a really deep embedded faith that I'm protected and supported by the universe, and that I will always have more than enough. Even if that means that at the moment I'm in a low period, it's an opportunity or an invitation for me to reassess what I'm doing and to really make sure that it is in alignment with what I love doing, what I value, and the ways that I can show up of service in the world. I think that's what this opportunity is, or it's an opportunity for me to move more into my personal healing era, and that feels really strong right now. Really strong. Like I've been going through a lot that I won't talk about on this one, but yeah, that feels really, that resonates strongly at the moment. How do you stay so playful and happy? I feel like I'm losing my inner child with adulthood. That's a really good question, and it is something that you have to prioritize. Like you have to make time on the schedule, and it sounds so counterintuitive, for play, for free flow, did you guys have like free time when you were little? Like, and it was on the schedule, right? Like in preschool or kindergarten or whatever, or like so was nap time. I remember it being like free time or nap time or learning the alphabet kind of thing was like on the schedule. And it was like, we know, and it's the same with training a dog. Well, I assume from what I've seen, I haven't trained a dog yet, that like you put them in a mode of like, okay, we're learning, we're obedient now, we're like, learning what our role is and how we can best show up. And then you go, okay, like free time. And then they flip and it's like, okay, you're out of that mind state, you're allowed to go play and have fun. And I think that's the part that so many of us miss, right? We think that we're supposed to fit within a certain mold and create or like shape so much of ourselves so that we can squish as much of us into that tiny little compartment as possible, when really it's like, well, what if we just seeped down a little bit? What if we didn't put all of ourselves in there? What if we allowed ourselves to still like make art and play with friends and just go outside without the intention of anything? Like flow state is a huge one for me that like instantly triggers me back into a more joyful approach. Same with music and dancing. And so any of those three things, or just being in the ocean, like in the ocean straight away, I'm like, I love it. And so yeah, same with dancing, but like a different way, and flow sticks. So like Bear and I will get like a bunch of different sticks, ideally not like sharp ones or like ones that are going to prick you, and you like throw them. So you have at least 3, sometimes 4, between a minimum of 2 people. And you like throw them around, and so your brain is always active because you're trying to catch and flow and throw at the same time, and you find this flow, and then you find that you're interrupted, and you start to realize that it's because like your brain wandered somewhere and you're like, oh, I wasn't actually present. And so it's just little things like that that are cool little tricks that might help you as well. How to forgive when you are mad at them. This is another really important one. Forgiveness isn't something that we do for the other person. I think it's more important as something that we do for ourselves, for closure, for just giving yourself permission to let go of that anger, that frustration, that hurt. Like it's heavy to hold on to, and it's not ours to carry. And so it's more like an energetic cleanse is what I see forgiveness as. And also an apology and forgiveness are very different. And an apology, I was taught, has like certain elements that need to be met. Otherwise it's not an actual apology. And that's like everything from sincerity, from acknowledgement and taking full responsibility for the way that they showed up and the way that it impacted you or the other person, like who's receiving the apology. And that what actionable steps you will do so that you don't repeat it and do it again, and therefore need to apologize again. And I was told that is a cohesive and comprehensive apology. And if it's not that, an apology isn't just I'm sorry. It needs to be I'm sorry for what I did. I recognize the way that it hurt you. I take full responsibility for me doing that, and I feel guilty, shameful. I feel really bad about realizing that I've hurt you, or I feel bad about hurting you, and I can realize that I have, and therefore I will do this so that I don't do it again. And that is an apology. Not that you asked that. My mother just taught me that really young. Okay, so I'm gonna go help Bear get the boards off the top of the car, and that is it for now. I'll see you guys when I see you next. And I might even get through some more questions because those are really good and I really enjoyed answering them. I would love to one day do one of these with Bear and do it as more of like a conversation thing. But until then, peace. Love and granola. Peace.